So I'm excited to introduce one of my newly found, but it seems like I've loved her for years. Cordelia Gaffar will be joining me now up on stage. So Cordelia, what is to say about this woman? Here, a very influential speaker, changer, instigator, connector, really all around that aspect of a beautiful human being, in terms of how she shows up, and what she does. We met in the waiting room, and of a podcast a couple of weeks ago, and we immediately started riffing on what could be the scenario why our third guest wasn't on stage with us. And since then, that affinity, and how are we taking the time to choose joy and find joy? This is when we're talking about allyship and showing up with civil courage. That's what we're going to be talking about today. So let me see. Cordelia, I see her in the room. So there she is.
It was easier than I thought. You could put on my camera.
And it is building, and it is building.
Yeah, thank you so much.
So, and then we only discovered very recently that we know some similar places.
Yes.
All right. And she's in red.
Oh. Look, there are no coincidences, right?
There are no coincidences. Oh, that makes me so happy. Yay. Okay, well, Cordelia, I'm so happy that you're here. I really appreciate it. I met you, and to know you is to love you. What you do around how are you creating impact in the world, around how are we connecting, how are we seeing ourselves, how are we replenishing with energy, and also how are we showing up. And I think that that's really one of those pieces of, you know, understanding what are perhaps socialization aspects that have, you know, influenced how we see things, but taking that time to show up and ask ourselves a couple of different questions that also give us more space to be who we are.
Yeah, time and space is really important.
Yeah.
So we can separate from the madness and find out what are our personal values, right?
Absolutely. So, absolutely. Yeah, I love it. Wonderful. Well, I'm excited to have you here. And as we talk to allyship and what that means and what it looks like, I appreciate you taking that on and giving it through your perspective. I love it.
Thank you for offering it to me, because I didn't even know what it was. I had to look it up. I was like, yeah, sure, I'll talk on that. And it's like, by the way, what is that?
You're the best. I love
it. That's what I do.
Exactly. Well, see, this is why you have such an affinity for HR and learning, because we all are about improvisational skills and pivoting. So you are in absolutely the right space.
I really feel at home here. I've enjoyed like everybody's talk, and it's just been an amazing 2 days so far for me. So thank you.
I love it. No, I couldn't agree more. Each time I think about what's been going on, I have little goosebumps. All right.
I'm going to start out a little bit different. I'm not going to pop up my slides immediately because, man, that was like a heavy panel for me.
Yeah, it was really emotional. Really a lot of pieces put out there, which needed to be said. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. If everyone is okay, I want to start with us just kind of breathing and, grounding ourselves, like feeling into our bodies and all that. So you can stay on camera with me, or you can go. It's up to you.
As you prefer, my darling. You know that I will dance and I will replenish you.
Oh, we're not going to dance first. We're going to breathe first. But yeah, we should dance at the end for sure.
Love it. All right. All right. Well, then I will take the stage.
Okay. So I want to invite everyone, we've been talking about diversity and inclusion, which is very heavy. And I don't know if you were here when I put the comment in there, slavery came up. And to be fair, that was diversity and inclusion. It just was morally incorrect. And I dare say we haven't moved much past that viewpoint, because let's face it, slavery was run by corporations. That was the whole point, right? So before I get started on slides, I want us to be able to listen for understanding, and the listening begins inward. So if you can get comfortable, either sitting, I'm standing, and if you're standing, what I'll ask you to do when we inhale is to like kind of bend at the knee and pull the breath in into your chest. But if you're sitting, of course, just, sit up as straight as you can. Okay. So close your eyes and we're going to breathe. So we're going to inhale. And as you inhale, I want you to think about all of the love and compassion you can have for yourself. And then as you exhale, let go of the boxes you keep yourself in. Okay, so again, inhale. And one last time. And before you open your eyes, I want you to just take a minute and put your hands on your heart and feel into who you are. And when you open your eyes, you'll see that I'm wearing a mask. Sometimes that's what we do when we go into the workplace. We show up bright and shiny, but we're not really ourselves. And I want to invite you to be open to the possibility of letting go of your shiny mask. And let's talk about allyship and refresh just by being ourselves. These are some of the insights. We're going to, a lot of the talks, the first day we're talking about individual vitality, and I just want to make sure everybody can see my screen. Okay, I think you can. So individual vitality, so that means energetically, you have to do what we just did. Feel into your body and breathe life into your day. Be mindful and self-aware for the humanity of the people you're working with. And you see now our offices are probably in our dining room or our bedroom or something like this. Maybe if we're lucky, we have a den that's away from our spouse and our children. But to give ourselves the opportunity to be fully present and show up with positive energy with each interaction, and seek opportunities rather than to be a silent observer. So I'm going to show you some pictures, all right? And I want to ask you, who are you in allyship now? Like, how are you showing up? Are you this woman over here? You can just put in the chat. Are you the woman that runs away? It's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe he just said that. And you're like, I know that's wrong. And in my heart, I just want to say something, but you go hard and fast the other direction. If that's you, be honest with yourself. Okay. Or are you like this military person here? I should know, right? Because my daughter's in the Navy. Where you are there, right, to represent your country or your company in this case, but you're still extending your hand to be present and listen, right? Listen for what is it in that person's heart. Are you like Jason Statham, a poser? You just let's take a picture. Yeah, yeah, I'm with you, right? You're just smiling and you're just going to post that on your social media. Look what I did. I'm an ally. And I'm not trying to be political, but I decided this was a better picture than a picture of Trump. So, or are you someone who is using your privilege to help other people? So, if you don't feel okay, more often, okay, yeah, that's pretty common. Most people do run away. That's all right. Just, and this is something that you don't have to, if you don't feel comfortable, you don't have to put it in the chat. But let's just be honest with ourselves, right? Because it's learning and development. So you have to learn and be a student of yourself first and foremost, so that you can develop who you are and decide where you want to land when it comes to allyship. So be honest, okay? And like I said, you don't have to tell us, but you need to know for yourself. All right? All right. So now that we know who you are, let's talk about what needs to transform, right? So again, in this presentation, I'm inviting you to be a student of yourself. Now, I thought this was an appropriate picture to use Trump. So within yourself, what needs to transform, okay? If you're someone from the previous slide and you find that maybe you patronize people, like the picture of Jason Statham, and I actually like him, so, no judgment. Maybe your default mode before COVID was you just went along with the status quo. If you're a decision maker, you might have just, made policies. I think someone talked about this earlier about stated versus expressed, right? So you make these policies that collect dust, right? Because they, for the record, it shows that you're one way, but in reality, the way you show up is something completely the opposite. But the beauty of the situation we're in right now, like, we're in each other's houses like every single day, right? So if you had judgment about people who have kids, guess what? We can see it on your face, or we can tell in your interaction. Like, oh my God, I can't believe Joe's kid is screaming again. Like, I don't even know how he gets any work done. I can't believe he comes to the meetings like this. Well, guess what? Joe is probably a better employee because he's patient enough to listen to your crap over the din of the noise of his child crying. And his heart and mind is so focused on his job that he's actually showing up and not punking out, So it's forcing us to see people's humanity. The other side of that is, okay, so Joe may be showing up like that strong dad, that compassionate dad that can be focused on his job and on his kid. But did it ever occur to you that maybe it's draining him mentally? And, having that one, last meeting at 4:30, when he's been battling or toggling between his family and his job all day long, it does take wear and tear, no matter how people, show up. Do you care? So let me get a pulse of how, like, maybe he's a single dad. He doesn't have to be a single dad. He could just be like a married dad that actually cares and he's paying attention. And I intentionally said dad instead of mom, because we assume that women are the ones who are going to be taking care of the kids and doing all the things around the house. But sometimes dads do that. And sometimes they are single and sometimes they're married. And it's, either way, what difference does it make? That makes them a better employee and more compassionate at the end of the day. And that's what matters. So now I'm going to invite you to release what is accepted and expected, what the status quo is, what your default mode is. This is a time that I want you to really just, again, listen for understanding and see where, take notes about yourself as I continue through this presentation. See where you can be a better ally for your coworkers. So we've got these tools, right? And we have some things that we do. So I thought this was a perfect picture because as I was going through my corporate career way back long time ago, this is what I encountered, right? So I'm a Black woman, and a lot of times my supervisor or the CEO of my company was a white woman. And so, like, in a perfect world, we're all women, right? And like back in the 90s, we had just come out of fighting for our rights and all the things. So she should be my biggest ally. But in fact, and I think women experience this whether they're both white or both Black, women are usually not the best allies for each other. So again, create think circles. How can we look and work together and be together and think of ways that we can use, in this case, maybe your privilege if you're in a leadership role again. And it could be the other way around, right? It could be a Black woman who's in leadership and the white woman's not, whatever it is. Whoever has the privilege, recognize it and think with the person who is getting the short end of the stick, how can we be better and do better? You know, maybe putting in mentoring practices now that could actually work. And just always welcoming the possibility of unlearning or reevaluating how you can be part of the solution. And I know I'm saying this a lot because it's a subliminal message, but not really. Listen for understanding. And so I want to share this Rumi quote because I think it really kind of drives this point home. Your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within you, within yourself, that you have built against it. Yes, I am talking about love and human compassion in the workplace, because that's where we are in 2020. Either we show up in love or we all fall apart. And that's just the way it is. So let's talk about restructure. What does that even mean? Yes, on an organizational level, I'm talking about restructuring the way we create policies, the way we show up with each other, the way we show up individually and transforming ourselves. But on a deeper level, what are your personal values? There's a culture at your company. But how many of you actually agree with the express culture? So I'm gonna, who would say that they agree with the express culture in their company? So you can just say yay or nay, right? If you don't agree with the express culture, then guess what? You have different values. And here's the thing, you may not be the only one in your company that has different values, right? It wouldn't be called a mutiny if all of you with the different values decided to show up together and just present a case for, well, you know, I noticed that what it says on paper, our mission and vision is this, but for some reason, we're acting like this. Is there a way we can reconcile the two? So where do you start with all that? Again, I bring emotions. I keep you right there because emotions, they only chemically last for 90 seconds. What makes it last longer? Your thoughts, your mindset. So we just gonna let that emotion. So like right now in this moment, if you're getting triggered by what I'm saying, I invite you to change your position. If you're sitting, stand. If you're standing, sit. And I invite you to, let's do 3 deep breaths again. Oh no, maybe we do it different this time. So we're gonna inhale on the left side of our nostril, and I'll explain that in a minute, and exhale on the right side, okay? So this time it's that feels different, right? So the left side of our body is where the heart leans more towards. In some spaces, it's called the feminine side. And the right side is where the heart is leaning away from, and that's called the masculine. So when you do the breath, just with the nostril exchange, and I did it kind of fast, but if you do it slower, it'll activate your bliss center. This is where we feel pleasure. And it'll make it easier for your heart to open up and your mind to think in terms of self-compassion and forgiveness. And now you get the benefit of hearing 3 of my 6 children. So, and then we can create better choices, right? And when we do that, guess what else happens? We have better communication. And we feel more open to express ourselves. So this is a very simple technique, but it's also something that actually works. And a lot of times when I do workshops with nonprofit organizations, I'll bring in the breath. And as Liz was saying in the beginning, I'll bring in dancing, because our emotions, the way we are energetically, is a muscle memory. And to release that muscle memory, we have to shake things up. So I'll use like a lot of drumming and everything, but we're not going to do that today, although that would be a lot more fun, wouldn't it, than going through slides like we have been all day. So again, as we talk about refreshing, this step, right? So we've released what's accepted and expected. And that's an energetic shedding. We've restructured by honoring the values that are actually ours and giving breath, literally and figuratively, to what we really believe, and speaking that into reality by sharing that with the leaders and the think circles, right? So when we refresh, this is, again, going back to yourself, your opportunity to leave those default behaviors that are keeping you away from being an ally. It may even keep you away from the people who don't believe as you believe. And it's allowing you to refresh and welcome and come closer to the people that you desire to be an ally for. But remember, we have to be an ally for ourselves first. So here we go. The struggle right now, we're on the verge of an economic rebirth. And I know it's really clear because Michelle, I believe was her name. She did, she spoke earlier today about the new L&D trends. And she, categorically went through each one. And those trends are what is at the foundation of the economic rebirth. But here's the thing. In order for it to actually work, all of us as L&D people, we got to release the old paradigm. And just like many of the speakers said in the panel, you can't just tick the DEI boxes, right? You can't make a 6-week course to undo a 30-year corporate culture or a 400-year American culture, American corporate culture, or, whatever it is, right? We have to align our values with better habits and choose our energy in each interaction to show up in love and to show up as an ally for ourselves so that it's easier to do that for somebody else. And by doing that, we can refresh and transform values that create a reality instead of it just being, wouldn't that be nice if we, what if we just innovate and create, make more opportunities and just make it happen? It wouldn't be such a leap, would it? So be like this rose. Tune into your own transformation. And here is a great Ananin quote that I actually didn't put down here. So I'm going to paraphrase. But, she says that one day, one day it became more painful to be a bud, closed up as a bud. And so she allowed herself to bloom. You guys may be familiar with this quote, but allow yourself to bloom, because I know you can feel the discomfort. It's hard. It's hard to keep flowing with those sweeping, inflexible policies. And we all have to now accept 6 months in that remote work is what it is. And you cannot work from 9 to 5 when you've got all the things going on at home. You got to walk your dog. You got to, spend time with your kids, spend time with your spouse, still having teacher-parent conferences, all the things. So the transformation would be into just making it easier for everybody, making it easier for single moms, single dads, and being flexible with what that workday looks like. Maybe now everybody's, or those particular people may have to work different hours, and focus, but find out, what is it that they need? What is it that will make it easy? What is it that will make them more productive? So I want to leave you with this. Allyship takes releasing the old paradigms. And you got to love my typo there. Align with staff as humans and humanize the values for better policies and value the humanity. I specifically put mothers here because I'm doing a talk next week about refining corporate culture to respect mothers, and the statistics were just blowing my mind. 55% of women have lost jobs. Those numbers have not been that high since 1986. And 75% of Black women in America are single moms who are the sole breadwinners. And think about that. They're toggling between manning the virtual schooling for their kids and showing up for work. So you got to find a way to that will help you to innovate, because these are who are our staff, and these are the human beings that are building the vision of the corporations. So how will you transform it? How will you show up? Are you going to put that microphone and speak up and use your privilege to support somebody else's cause? Oh, and by the way, just so you know, Liz gave you a brief introduction, but I call myself an emotions opener. I don't know if you noticed that you may have gone through a couple of emotions during my talk. And I have 6 kids, and I've been homeschooling them since I left corporate 16 years ago. So my heart is with L&D because I've been building curriculums based on the learning styles and the emotional capacity of my children. And my oldest one is graduated. She's in the Navy. And I've written a whole bunch of books, and I've received awards and stuff. But more importantly, I've created Replenish Me. And that's what I shared with you today, was this process where we on the individual level, we on the organizational level, and we on a global level can pour back into ourselves as humans, recognizing our own humanity first, so that it's not a leap to do it for somebody else. So, as Deepak Chopra says, to experience complete freedom, you must be free within yourself. Are you ready for that? I want to invite you to replenish and boost your immune system. And I think the same link is under my speaker profile. So that is what I'm sharing with you today on Allyship. So you're welcome. You're very welcome. Thank you.
Cordelia, I can't say enough. Your beauty and your impact on the world and what you bring to it and what you do, and this aspect of how we're replenishing, how are we taking the time, how are we also speaking to the things that need to be spoken to. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
My
It's really
pleasure.
awesome. Oh, what questions do you have for Cordelia? So I think, you know, here it's not necessarily been an easy journey for you. I mean, just alone homeschooling 6 kids and juggling, and also having a very international and important career as the emotions opener. What are the pieces that you do for yourself to replenish? How do you find the time to do it?
Yeah, so I actually believe, like a lot of people will tell you about a morning routine. I'm all about the calm down in the evening. So, you know, like sleeping well is not just for babies. It's for mom too. And my calm down routine begins with my breakfast, right? So like I make sure, depending on what my day is going to be, that I'm eating the right food that will support me mentally, emotionally, and physically, right? And then like as the day goes on, I make sure that I'm moving, right, throughout the day. Like that's why I stand up and I don't sit down. And of course, you know, I have those mental health breaks where I have to do soca dancing, right? So, but there was no soca last night. So, but anyway, I'm not going to hate on the music. It was all right. I still danced.
That's going to be the next round. Next round is soca music. I totally agree.
Okay. Yeah. So, yeah, but you know, basically from right before the sun sets, I'll turn on my Himalayan salt lamp, and I make sure that I'm hydrated. You know, I sit down at mealtime with my family, and no devices in the kitchen.
And it's really making it conscious, you know, to say no devices. How are we really connecting and going away from distraction? And I think, Yeah, it's incredible, particularly now that you know there's schools starting back up. Kids are in front of who are in front of the monitors, and this is not good for their brains. In terms of brain fog. This is where I'm like,
Yeah.
psychologists, where are you? How are you? Why are you not helping teachers in terms of what can we do to help kids? So that's a different space.
Yeah, don't get
Exactly.
me on that one. I'm like, okay, I don't hear anything. La 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 la.
But it is that piece of how do we create real space for connection by saying how do we, really reduce distraction so that we can do that. And calming down. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
I find it a lot. So any questions?
I see some homeschoolers out there, and Jennifer. Yeah, let's all rant about the schooling situation. But
I love it. I love it.
oh, Laura, you were a homeschooler. Of
I
course you
love
were.
it. Awesome. Well, would anybody like to come on screen? Anyone who would like to chat about something about as we look to allyship, and I think Ariana brought it up really well, is that it's also strenuous and it's hard and it takes a lot of courage to speak up and speak out, and it's also honestly psychologically exhausting to constantly be the one to defend. So the aspect also looking at allyship is how am I seeing that and how am I supporting the civil courage, because it is harder to be the one saying, hey, can we have we need to create more space here.
Yeah, it's I feel like it's more necessary now because it gets uncomfortable. I know, I can't remember who it was that posted the article. Was it yesterday? I want to say it was Brent or somebody. No, it was maybe Brian, but he posted an article of a CEO who is forcing people to be on Zoom all the time, right? So like, not encouraging a mutiny at all, but I'm just saying, right? Like, I'm pretty sure the people in that company are not happy with it. So there you go. That's an opportunity for Allyship, right?
To speak up and speak out and say, is there a different way? Is there a better way? Or really, is it necessary? And I think oftentimes, it's with everything of, do you have the self-agency or see the self-agency to speak up and speak out? And it can be very scary those particular times. And I think you said it so well when we were in the human conversation with Eric and Gary, of when you have to speak out. You just something very visceral, which I thought was really, really good. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, people definitely know. And this is why emotions matter, right? Because you get angry. And what we do as women, I know, because I used to be that woman. You get really angry and you're just like, I don't want them to think I'm an emotional woman. Even worse for me, because I'm Black, right? I don't want them to think I'm the angry Black woman, right? So I put into practice 24 hours. And if I'm still angry, 48 hours. And then march into the office and eloquently with my beautiful smile and my red dress. Yeah. So, that thing that happened on Monday, had you considered to do it like this?
Yeah.
It's not something to back away from, but what would happen for me is I worked at law firms most often, and when I did that, I would get really colorful language from the partners, and and I would say, well, I feel like your language isn't appropriate. Is this something that I should, and they didn't really like me, but they couldn't really fire me either. So, but it's okay. It's that you have to do that.
Exactly. How are you standing up, like you said, for yourself? And then really saying, okay, what are those principles and what's important here, that there is really a foundation, and it's not just accepted in terms of groupthink of that it will go away. Yeah. Well, beautiful, Cordelia. I love it. Love you. I really appreciate you coming on. A lot of great pieces that we will all take with us. And people can find you on YouTube. You have a wonderful Free to Be show.
Yes.
Ah,
Yes.
oh, and a cutie booty.
My cutie pies, my baby girls came. No. You're not camera ready. Like no. She's got the cute hair, but not the cute clothes. So
You're good. I love it. The juggling mom, juggling mom. Yes, exactly. Like Jennifer said, been there. All right. Thank you so much, Cordelia. Appreciate it. Oh, precious. Hi, sweet.
You're welcome.
Beauty. I like your mask. Keep it. All right. All right. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Bye.